Hello, everybody. It's Big Money Drew. Haven't haven't done one of these in quite a while. It's been a few months, probably 4, maybe even 5, since I pulled out the old Big Money Talks gimmick. Um, and I don't have bullet points or something in front of me that says what I want to hit, what I want to talk about. But I'm winging it. I just have to wing this because this has been quite a week in pro wrestling, and I want to share my thoughts. There's so many people who have shared thoughts, so many people, and there's people that on Twitter that I've seen all the comments of things that I'm going to address, and because of how insane it was, this is why I'm doing this right now, like this. This is live. Well, not live, but it's recorded, but I don't do cuts. I don't mock up stuff. I don't have any flashy graphics. I just sit here, I stare at this camera, occasionally glance at my screen and see things. This is a new setup. If you watched any Big Money Talks videos in the past, this is not what it used to look like. So that thing in the back right there, that's something I've had for a while now, and it's beautiful. Look at it. It really is. And then Baby Yoda up there, the child. So anyway, let's talk about. Let me, I'm gonna start at the beginning, and at the beginning, I mean not the beginning of last week. When I was a kid, and this, this isn't a life story, but you'll understand where I'm going with this. When I was a kid, my best friend, his stepbrother, and his cousin always were watching the WWF at the time. And I got into it too. It's like, oh, okay, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Vince McMahon, The Rock, DX. You know, I don't know if they watched WCW. I know I didn't watch WCW, but I actually, when I was a kid, I had a little Mankind doll, the little tie, and the shirt and the little sock. Um, God, I wonder what happened to that. I know I don't have it anymore, but it's unfortunate because that would have been a great piece of nostalgia, memorabilia to have. But a few years, like 97 to maybe late 90s, early 2000s, I'll say, before WCW was bought by WWE, I was watching. And there's not that much that captivated me to the point that I can go back and remember, except for like very, really, literally just two things. The Undertaker, number one, and number two, um, the segment that I've gone back and seen on the Attitude Pop YouTube channel, where Stone Cold has Vince McMahon arrested, and then he comes back and he has to apologize. That segment always stuck in my head for some reason. Um, so it was really cool being able to see that again. So for whatever reason, wrestling just wasn't in my watching anymore, and then neither it was in theirs, and I don't know why. Maybe I could ask them one day. Um, so in 2012, I came home from work. It was April, I think early April in 2012, and I'm flipping through the channels, sitting down on my couch. All of a sudden, I'm on the USA Network, Monday Night Raw. Like, oh wow, I haven't watched this in a really long time. I don't remember. I think I might have watched that show back like once just to see like what it was that made me keep watching the show until it got to the end of the night. I don't remember, honestly. Um, but then John Cena comes out at the end of the night. He's talking about WrestleMania and his loss to The Rock. And Brock Lesnar comes out. And I have no idea who Brock Lesnar is. But the crowd knew who Brock Lesnar was because they popped like crazy for him. And I was like, whoa, this is huge. This is kind of like it's like watching back when I used to watch. He gives him the F5, and then I'm like, wow, okay. Haven't seen this in a long time, but all right, I'm gonna tune in next week. Now, mind you, I did tune in next week. I did enjoy their brawl where John Cena got bloodied, and I was like, yeah, okay, I could dig this. So I started watching. The night after WrestleMania 28, I came back to WWE, to back to wrestling, and I didn't even watch SmackDown at first for probably a few months, just because I wasn't like was like, oh, okay, Monday Night Raw, whatever. And then I started watching SmackDown, and I was watching SmackDown every week too. Um, so fast forward, I'm gonna come back to this a little bit, but we're gonna fast forward now. 2016. 2016, um, I was really starting to get into a little bit of a funk. This is when the Authority was full-fledged, just came back, I believe, from being gone because of that Survivor Series when Sting came out. And then John Cena brings them back because of the famous segment Edge and Seth Rollins, which just played, big part in SummerSlam on Saturday. And I was, I was a little bit not into it as much. And Twitter was blazing about this Best of Super Juniors, and I had never seen anything like that before. Of course, obviously, I had heard of New Japan at that point, and Best of Super Juniors, Will Ospreay and Ricochet. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's saying how it's just um, an absolute, just insane thing. I'm sorry, you're gonna hear like notifications going off once in a while because I might get a phone call today, so we'll see. But I have to look at my phone, so I apologize. Um, so I find it on Daily Motion and watch it. It's like a 16-minute thing, entrances, whole gimmick, everything, and I was captivated. I was captivated because I had not until that point, June of 2016, I had not seen a match outside of WWE. Never seen it before. And I was captivated. I was like, holy crap, this guy Ricochet, Will Ospreay, just unbelievable. And at not one point did I go, oh, flippy bullshit, not my thing. I was captivated. I was really excited to see that. So that's when I started pursuing other things outside of WWE for the first time. And not extensively because I wasn't really getting to a point where I was like, oh, I've got to watch, every week of another company or something like that. But I did happen to catch in that same time span Impact Wrestling. And at the time, the big storyline Broken Matt Hardy, and that also captivated me because I went back and I was like, oh, how did this start? This isn't just something that happens out of nowhere. The final, not the first, well, the deletion match, the first one, hadn't happened yet. So it was just Jeff and Matt being absolutely crazy. And I loved every moment of it. So I watched that for a little bit. And I went back and I saw the Big Money Matt segments. And I was like, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. So I think if I haven't told you before, you probably guess where the Big Money Drew comes from. It's because of Big Money Matt. So thank you, Matt Hardy. That was that really left a mark on me. Um, so yeah, so that's 2016. Now, also what happened in 2016, Daniel Bryan had to retire. Shane McMahon came back to WWE. And there was a little bit of a shift going on from 2015, when it seemed dull as heck, just dull. And I'll never forget the segment that really got me to just be like, wow, I just don't want to watch this right now, was the Corporate Kane, just 2015, Corporate Kane. I think this may have been like later in 2015, like September, around September. The review, there was like some sort of corporate review segment where this woman comes out and she just gives like a review of Kane, and Seth Rollins is there yucking it up. I was just like, holy crap. I don't give a crap about this anymore. I don't want to watch this. That was it. That was the first time that I came back in 2012. So I was like, oh, no, can't do this anymore. So anyway, now I'm going to fast forward. 2019, thing comes around called AEW. And I started watching AEW. And in fact, if you go back on cagesidesseats.com, I did a couple of recaps, and this was before I started recapping the WWE main roster. I recapped a couple of AEW shows, beginning AEW shows. Really awesome. That was really fun. I really enjoyed watching them. So for the most part, I mean, it wasn't every day, every week, but I was watching AEW as well. Then the pandemic happens. When the pandemic happens, I just start getting into cage side seats, doing the WWE main roster recap right after WrestleMania 35, 36, sorry. Um, so yeah, so I started religiously watching WWE. And when I started the job at Cateside, I really enjoyed it. I truly did. I was enjoying watching the shows. You remember a couple of months prior, Hell in a Cell 2019, the Fiend and Seth Rollins match in Hell in a Cell. And I kind of like stopped watching for a little bit after that. I just couldn't do it. But WrestleMania that year, the Firefly Funhouse match with John Cena, the Boneyard match with Taker and Styles. I was like, you know what? I'm ready for this again. And I got the job with Cateside and I started covering the shows. And I was still watching AEW, but I wasn't watching AEW as much as I would have liked to. As a result, I would miss a few weeks at a time, but I would mostly turn into the pay-per-views. Um, Now, fast forward to 2021, probably a little bit after May, I want to say, of this year, I get this title right here, and I love it. I really do. That thing looks really good because obviously it's the most prestigious title in WWE right now. Roman Reigns. Come on. So, I I want to say probably around mid-June or so, and I don't really know what it was. Aside from the releases, they started with the releases, so many releases, and I was just really starting to not get into it anymore. In mid-June, I believe that was when the first round of cuts happened, and then just as it kept going on, it's like, holy crap, you know, what what started to really get me out of it was the round of cuts. And yeah, I think it might have been that beginning round. Aleister Black at the time is in WWE and he's on SmackDown. And he hadn't been like around for a while. So he comes back and he starts doing this new thing, with like he's got the eyes a little messed up and he's doing these do video packages with talking about a whole bunch of things and these like really interesting graphics and stuff. 3 weeks into that, he attacks Big E to close SmackDown. A couple days later, Aleister Black had been released from WWE. What? He was just on TV. He was just about to start a program with Big E. Gone. And I was just like, what would make somebody think that that was a good idea? Well, then it turns out he only had a 30-day no compete because of his NXT deal because they forgot to change it to 90 days when he got to the main roster. Well, tough luck because 30 days later, who shows up on AEW but Malachi Black after doing this really cool breaking out of Psych Ward video and attacks Cody Rhodes. And then they had their match, and that was a really good match. But so I noticed a shift. I was starting to like AEW more. I was starting to want to watch them more than watch WWE, my own thing that I had to do for Cage Side Seats. Uh, and I always said to a few people, the day that the man holding this title, the day that I sit down here to watch SmackDown and I don't want to do it anymore, even though I'm captivated by the Roman Reigns storyline and what's going on with him, that's the sign. Well, for SmackDown, I believe it was of July, I sat down to watch SmackDown. I didn't even click into it on my Sling TV. Probably about 45, 50 minutes. I was dreading it. I was honestly dreading it. And that was it for me. I was like, you know what? This is starting to get not good. And in a weird coincidence, my job outside of wrestling, uh, times were shifting later because of, the pandemic and things going on. It turns out I wasn't going to be able to cover Monday Night Raw anymore. So I had originally thought that I was going to continue covering SmackDown and pay-per-views as I was told after SummerSlam. But it turns out that the stars aligned in a certain way to where I ended up not having to do the shows anymore. And I wasn't feeling bad about it at all, honestly. Actually, I was very happy. I have to say I was very happy because with what happened now, we're now in the present, we're in the present moment. What happened this past week? There's no way in hell that I would have been able to cover SmackDown last Friday because I was riding on such a high, and there's people that I'm going to talk to, that I'm going to talk about here. Um, one whose shirt I'm wearing right now, Jeremy Lambert, point guard. Um, and I'm going to cover all that. But so last week, I did not cover Raw and SmackDown for Cage Side Seats. I was done. So I'm done with that now. And so it's this itch, like right on my nose. So annoying. Um, so I was done as of, sorry, still getting used to using this because my AirPods don't want to pair with my laptop anymore. Um, so I was not covering WWE anymore this past week. Good, because I couldn't have covered SmackDown last Friday. So now let's talk about. I'm going to talk about now the state of my wrestling fandom. Okay, Friday night, it's anticipated, heavily anticipated, that CM Punk is coming back to AEW Rampage. So I had butterflies in my stomach the whole time because ever since CM Punk left in 2014, um, I was a big fan of his when he was in WWE, and in fact, his heel run while he was on the 434-day reign as champion, um, his heel run came at an interesting time in my life where I was going through a rough patch. I had just lost a job. Not even a full month later, I lost a family member. And it was really difficult. It was tough. This was in 2012, actually, right when I came back to wrestling. Weirdly enough, in the same year, and I was I was just not into it anymore. Mentally, I wasn't like, I wasn't right mentally. So CM Punk's heel run was very helpful for me because I hadn't seen the pipe bomb in 2011. I hadn't been because I didn't watch. I wasn't part of wrestling back then, so I missed the whole summer of Punk, the whole Money in the Bank 2011. I missed all of that. But CM Punk was still integral in my wrestling fandom. I see this. I grew this because of CM Punk because I saw Punk grow out a beard, or he had like changed a beard. I don't remember like what his thing was at that time, but he was, and I had found out later on from like researching, he was a big proponent of like you change up stuff when you become something else. And I was like, you know what? I'm ready for a change. I'm ready to do something different. So ever since 2012, I've had this beard, and I grew it out because of what CM Punk's heel run, the way he was talking, the way he did stuff, that was what got me to be like, oh wow, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna change too. So I started growing out a beard, and I've had it ever since. Um, so now Friday, the whole thing was like, oh, is he really coming? AEW was teasing it with the Omega was wearing the CM shirt, Cookie Monster, Chick Magnet. The Bucks were doing the high knee in the corner and like the stuff that CM Punk would do. And Tony Khan was just like, hey, you know, what you're expecting is gonna happen. They sell out the United Center 3 weeks in advance, 3 weeks in advance, just on the anticipation of CM Punk showing up. Incredible. And I was, I sit here, SmackDown is over, and I didn't even really watch SmackDown, but I saw the ending with John Cena and Roman Reigns, and I'm not talking about that. That's not what this is about. And Rampage starts, and I'm sitting here, and I'm just like, man, that crowd is already chanting CM Punk, CM Punk, and they say there's a major announcement that's starting the show, and then the announcers go quiet. CM Punk, CM Punk chants, and then that music plays, and that crowd erupted in a way that I have not heard a crowd erupt in quite a while. Quite a while. And CM Punk walks out. And I was sitting here and that music played, and I'm thinking like what other people had been thinking, oh, is this gonna be MJF? Is MJF gonna walk out and be an absolute douchebag right now? Nope. CM Punk walks out, and I see a figure start to come out of that tunnel. I'm like, oh, is that MJF? Is that MJF? And then I didn't see it. Obviously, the people in the crowd sitting right in front of the tunnel and with vision of the tunnel who are close enough, they see that CM Punk walking out, and they just start going crazy, even crazier. And then I finally see him walk out of that tunnel, and I legitimately gasped. Oh my God, he's actually there. He's actually there. So much, I mean, to such a degree that my partner comes and he's like, what's going on? What happened? And I had already, at that point, I had already started to tear up. Like I was already, so I'm like, oh no, it's okay. And he walked away. And I was just like, I was just stunned. I was stunned. And he falls to his knees on the stage. And I just, sorry, I know, here comes the notification. He falls to his knees on the stage, and I look at his face, as I'm sure so many other people did, and I started crying. I started crying because I saw the exact moment on his face when he saw that he missed this, that this was what he had been wanting for a long time, and he missed this. I saw it in his face, and I started crying because that reaction was so epic. It was so epic that he couldn't get up. He was on his knees on the stage for like probably like a minute and a half almost, it felt like, or a minute, just taking that in. And then he gets up and he's fired up now. And he starts walking down that ramp. And I'm still like tears coming down. He hugs fans on one side. I'm like, oh my God, this is just unbelievable. And then he turns around and he dives into the crowd on the other side. And I'm to tears still. It was, I laughed. It was just unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And he hops back over and he walks over and hugs other people. He gets the microphone. They cut the commercial. That was so smart that they cut the commercial there. 90 seconds. That was what Excalibur. They're like, you've been waiting to hear CM Punk for 7 years. You only need to wait 90 more seconds. That was such a great call. It was so great. And hopefully got a whole bunch of people who were like, oh my God, CM Punk's on. I got to call so and so. Go turn on TNT right now. Um, so that was very, very smart that they did that. And then they come back from break. He has the microphone, and that promo was just a roller coaster. It was a roller coaster. Here we go. It's starting, and he mentions the first thing that he says that was like, whoa, was basically, I mean, he didn't say the word apologize or say sorry, but he acknowledged that so many people were upset that he left. And he was acknowledging that. And he said that he understood that people felt disappointed in him and was upset at him. And that was a huge moment. That was a huge moment. And then he turned around and says that we had to understand that he was never going to get healthy staying in a place that made him sick in the first place. Wow, what a moment that was in that promo. And then he takes off the hoodie and there's the new shirt, and then he sits down, pipe bomb style, right in the middle of the ring, and it just goes on and talks about August 13th, 2005. He leaves Ring of Honor, the day he left professional wrestling. The day he left professional wrestling, August 20th, 2021, that Friday, he's back in professional wrestling. What a promo. Calls out Darby Allin. Him and Sting are up in the rafters. I'll see you at All Out. What a thing. And then at the end, the ice cream bars. That was it was so great. I have watched that whole thing. I've lost count. I've lost count how many times I've watched that. I don't think I've ever watched, I've seen a couple of movies, I've seen a couple of YouTube, whatever, a couple of times, not as many times as I've watched that moment on Rampage last Friday. Seriously. I have not watched the first 20 minutes of anything that much ever. So that was pretty much the sign for me, like, whoa, yeah, AEW. The reports that Daniel Bryan are coming in and potentially at the Arthur Ashe show that I got tickets to, I am going to lose it probably in the way that I lost it when I watched CM Punk come out. But I'll be there live for that. And let me tell you something, person watching this right now, maybe you, okay? I'm going to lose it if Daniel Bryan shows up on that show that I am there for. I'm going to lose it. So I feel bad for the person sitting next to me. I am going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. So I was not into SummerSlam at all, really. I didn't I didn't have to really pay attention to it like I used to pay attention to pay-per-views and WWE shows, covering them for Cage Side. And I, it started, it's like, all right, um, the Eva, I didn't see the Biggie Corbin stuff, but to be honest with you, I don't remember what started the show because I really wasn't paying attention to it. So I don't remember what the first match was. But I know that the second match was Eva Marie and Alexa Bliss. Whatever. Alexa won. Fine. Piper, Dewdrop, kind of like turns on Eva a little bit, but no, we don't really know. All right, whatever. Sheamus and Damian Priest was like the first match that got me to like focus on. I was like, oh, okay. Damian Priest really good. Sheamus is great, and the right person won. Damian Priest won. I was hoping for that. I was very happy for that. So I was like, oh, okay. I'm starting to kind of get into it now. Now I'm starting to get into it. Okay. So I don't remember because really, like I said, I wasn't paying attention. I don't remember the whole order of everything that happened, but there may have been a match after that, and then Nakamura and Boogs come out just randomly. It's like, oh, okay. Um, and then all of a sudden, they play the video package for Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Now, it was reported that Sasha was not at the show, was not going to be partaking in SummerSlam. So the video package plays. Like, oh, okay. Bianca is the first one to come out. That was a little weird. Like, oh, okay. They're bringing her out first. She gets in the ring, and then I think Greg Hamilton, like the ring announcer. Sasha Banks is unable to complete. She's not, to compete. She's not medically cleared. What? But this was already reported for like days that there was an issue. They were both pulled off of live events, but then they were cleared. But then Sasha wasn't at SmackDown the night before, and then now she's not here. And then Bianca's walked out, and she's got the title, and she's like handing off the title, and she's ready to wrestle. And then all of a sudden, Sasha Banks is not competing. Carmella is announced as the opponent instead. And I'm like groaning, like, oh, come on. She just got beat the day before, yesterday, from Saturday. Like she just got beat on SmackDown. Whatever, it'll be a quick match. So she gets in the ring. And then as we find out, one of the big surprises of the night, Becky Lynch returns. Whoa, huge. I'm like, oh my God, it's Becky Lynch. Huge pop. She walks out. She gets in the ring and she starts to attack Carmella, throws her out, gets her out completely. And she grabs the mic. I don't remember exactly what it was that she said. And then she's like, okay, yeah, let's me and you do this. Let's tear the house down. And Bianca, who was like giddy, absolutely enthralled that Becky just returned. She's like, yeah, let's do it. Okay. Becky goes to give her a handshake. Bianca grabs her hand for the handshake, and Becky just pulls her in and wham! and then hits a move. One, two, three. And I just stared at my screen with my mouth open. Are you kidding me? That that was it? Becky just came back. Bianca's been a champion since WrestleMania. We're at SummerSlam. She had, you know, a program with Carmella, and she had a program with Bayley and Zelina. I mean, yeah, from WrestleMania to now, she was a big hit with crowds. She was at Rolling Loud. They had the match there with Carmella. Becky comes back, one, two, three, boom. That's it. It's over. Now, the moment, the moment of Becky's return, really good. That was great. That was a great pop. That was a great feel-good moment. See the happiness on Becky's face, that environment, that whole aura. That was really great. But after that, it was like, oh, Sasha's not here. Oh, Becky's here. Oh, they just squashed Bianca. What should have been a great moment turned into crap. And they used Becky's return to do this. I was flabbergasted. I was absolutely stunned that it just happened. I couldn't get into the rest of the show really until like the end of Edge and Seth. Anything that happened after that, I didn't give a hell about it. Just couldn't do it. Couldn't get into it at all. They do Bobby Lashley and Goldberg, whatever. They have that segment with the water guns, with the dripstick 2.0 and all that garbage, whatever. Edge and Seth starts. The entrance for Edge was really cool, but I was just so not into it. I was just so not into it that I was like, oh, okay, the bird music and into meddling this and whatever. I was just like, yeah, I really just couldn't. I couldn't get into it at all. But the end of the match was good, and the right person won. And then, um, I'm sorry, Bobby. Yeah, Bobby Lashley and Goldberg was before Roman, and so see, my whole thing is thrown off. The Raw Women's Champ. That's what it was. The Raw Women's Championship match. It was the next disaster after the Becky Lynch disaster, and Charlotte wins the title again. Nikki Ash not working. I didn't like it. I feel bad because I like Nikki Cross. I really do. Really do like her as a person. She's a really lovely person. But I couldn't get into this almost a superhero thing. I really couldn't. I'm sorry. Um, but I was like, you know what? Maybe they're actually going to give this a shot. I actually thought I actually thought that Nikki was going to retain at SummerSlam. I actually thought I had that in my head. Like, you know what? Vince is high on it. This was her thing. This seems to be getting somewhere. Okay, they're going to have her keep the title at SummerSlam. Nope, that's not what happened. Charlotte Flair won. Okay, sure. Before that was the Saudi Arabia announcement, which, by the way, I had been saying, if you had been looking on my Twitter and you had been seeing me on Throwbacks Wicked Crazy Pinfall show, I had been saying that if they were going back to Saudi Arabia, they're going to put the title on Goldberg, and Goldberg is going to have a match there. I was 1 for 2 because they have Saudi Arabia coming, but Goldberg doesn't have the title. But he's not going to have the title. He's going to Saudi Arabia to rematch Bobby Lashley probably with the title. So pat myself on the back for that one because I saw that one coming. So they do that stupid thing, and then John Cena and Roman Reigns, and that was it was a little slow at first, but I expected that, and then it got really hot towards the end, kicking out of everything, and Roman Reigns wins. And then Brock Lesnar shows up, and that was another big surprise. And they did that one right because I have been wanting to see what would appear to be, at the moment at least, babyface Brock Lesnar versus heel Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman in Roman Reigns' corner. I've been wanting to see that, so that I'm interested in on the SmackDown side. I just remembered now what the because I was saying, oh, the only thing I'm really interested in on Raw was the opening match of SummerSlam, RK Bro versus AJ Styles and Omos, and RK Bro won the titles. So that the start of SummerSlam, Sheamus and Damian Priest, and the end of SummerSlam were really my highlights of SummerSlam because the Becky Bianca squash, essentially, the Kofi Kingston version of 2021. Bianca got Kofi'd. Bianca got Kofi'd. And that was really unfortunate. I was really upset about that. I'm still upset about it. So, all right, so SummerSlam's over. Whatever. I, then, for yesterday, an interview comes out with Nick Khan. Basically, and I'm not getting into the interview because I haven't even really watched the whole interview, nor am I going to, because I am not a fan of Nick Khan. And he basically just says that, like, the WWE way is the way that WWE is going to be looking going forward, and they're just going to, their hiring practices are going to be different. They're not going to they're not going to really focus on independence. They're going to do in-house, and and that's it. So John Alba, who was an integral part of my weekend because he's a really good guy. John Alba said that listening to the Nick Khan interview, it's extremely clear as to what the future of WWE will look like from a talent standpoint. They want people who don't have as much wrestling experience prior to be able to mold them into the WWE style. And that's basically what the rebranding of NXT is going to become. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of NXT, so that's not something that bothers me. I'm happy Samoa Joe won the title. Samoa Joe's awesome. But I'm just not, I don't watch NXT. Years ago, when it was like big 2015, 2016, I was like, okay, I was watching it more regularly. I was into Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. I was into Bailey and them before right in before getting there. Bailey was the last one. Finn Balor before he got to the main roster. Um, so I was uh, just not into it after that. The 2018, 2019 whatever. But I still, I went to a couple of Evolve shows and I met Street Profits, amazing. Montez and Evangelo, amazing. I met Johnny Gargano. I have a picture of Johnny Gargano, and that was so awesome. He's a really awesome guy. And congratulations, by the way, on becoming a dad soon. Um, so I read, those snippets from the Nick Khan interview, thanks to John Alba on Twitter. And basically, what happened is WWE is now saying the monotonous similarity of the main roster of creative and how they book things. That's the way that they want to be. That's the way that they want to be. And that's a way that I don't like. I don't like it at all because, you know, the guy who holds this title, Roman Reigns, was pretty much consistently the only good thing in WWE for months. Months. That was really the only thing that I looked forward to. And for them to now say, oh, well, like literally everything else on the show that you don't like, we like that. And it doesn't matter how we've molded NXT, it doesn't matter how we have tried to incorporate things that fans, people interested in wrestling like the Cruiserweight Classic and 205 Live and NXT kind of like becoming the independent WWE promotion, the thing to look out for in WWE when the main roster isn't your cup of tea. They have just now decided, you know what, we're not doing any of that anymore. We just want the monotonous similarity of the main roster's booking and creative to be WWE as a whole now. So NXT gets rebranded. I don't know what's going to happen with NXT UK. That whole thing where Triple H was standing in front of a map of the world with the NXT logo on a bunch of countries doesn't seem like that's a thing anymore because why would they do that? If they do, I mean, hey, if they do, then cool. But judging from Nick Khan's interview and moves being made in WWE, it doesn't seem like that's the case. So the state of my wrestling fandom at the moment. Oh, and then before I get into that, the most latest thing, even after the Nick Khan interview, after NXT Takeover, PW Insider. This is where it gets like you got to be out of your flipping mind. PW Insider reports that they've heard from WWE sources that Becky Lynch is a heel. That Becky Lynch is now being seen as the top heel of SmackDown. Are you out of your mind? You've got to be crazy. Everybody wanted Becky Lynch back. Everybody cheered for her. The way that she left after Money in the Bank in 2020, so heartfelt, announcing her pregnancy, giving the title to Asuka, that moment between them in the ring. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And everybody was like, oh, we can't wait for Becky to come back. We're so excited. And now you're going to make her a heel? You're out of your mind. This is turning into a salad graph. I apologize, Alex Pulowski. You're out of your mind. And it's just another thing. And I tweeted this yesterday. I want to say it now. Where is it? Um, I tweeted this yesterday, and I showed oh, it's a GIF also, so I can't obviously say that, but I'll explain it. I said we've all laughed about this, but it's so true now, more than ever, that this is Vince McMahon, and it's the GIF, the Simpsons GIF of the principal going, "Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong." And there have been, there's an image out there with Vince McMahon's face on him, on his body, saying the same thing. But now more than ever, Vince McMahon doesn't care. And like it was pretty much obvious. It was pretty much obvious that we all knew that already. But wow, just you know what? You like you like a certain thing. I'm not giving you that certain thing. I'm giving you what I think wrestling is. I'm giving you what my vision of wrestling is. I'm not giving you an indie darling anymore. I'm not giving you a 205 live product that's actually interesting to watch. Nope, it's the WWE way. It's sports entertainment. So, the state of my wrestling fandom. I am not a sports entertainment fan. I dig my flag in the professional wrestling, and I have canceled my recordings of Raw and SmackDown on my Sling TV because I'm like, you know what? There's no point anymore. And I never thought I would really get to this point. As much as everything has been going on with WWE as of late, I still didn't think that I would actually do what I already started doing last week. I did not watch Raw at all. I just looked up on Twitter what was going on. Haven't even watched a single YouTube video. Well, no, I'm sorry. No, I did see, I saw the ending with Goldberg, and I saw the RK Bro moment when they got back together and then announced that they were going to face the tag team champions. That's it. That's all I've seen from Raw. That's the first time in a while that I haven't even watched a show. Friday was the first SmackDown that I didn't watch live in a while. And of course, it was my job to cover Raw and SmackDown, so of course I had to watch anyway. But now that I wasn't watching, I'm done with that. I'm not watching that shit live anymore. Um, I didn't think that was going to happen, but I just did it. I cursed. I apologize. Um, I'm not watching it anymore live. Live. Now I am interested in what's happening now with this title, and seeing what goes on with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. So with the Paul Heyman effect of what's going to happen there, that intrigues me. But unfortunately, I can't watch the show live at this point because I don't want to see the Alpha Academy and the Street Profits for the millionth time, and I don't want to see the eventual, probably hot-shotting of the Intercontinental Championship with Apollo, and maybe Kevin Owens will get involved. And I love Kevin Owens. I love Kevin Owens. If he has a clip on YouTube from the show, I'll click on that because I love Kevin Owens. I love Big E. Whatever Big E is doing, I'm gonna watch that on YouTube. But other than that, Becky Lynch is back, and I have no desire to watch her on my television. And I can't believe that I'm actually saying that. I actually can't believe that I'm saying that. Yeah, not excited for how they follow this up on SmackDown. I mean, I'm guessing that she's gonna not get completely Kofi'd, and Bianca will have a rematch. I hope that is what they do at least. I don't know. We'll find out on SmackDown. But while this week has been the worst in my WWE fandom, for sure, the past week, it was wonderful on Twitter. It was wonderful with a group of friends that I've cultivated from a bunch of different places, not just from Cage Side Seats, but from Fightful, from Love Wrestling, um, and the specific like turnaround point for me, even before SummerSlam, was, as I said, the guy's shirt I'm wearing, Jeremy, and Joe Holbert, and Confirmed Shoot, and Jack Crosby, and um, and Robert O'Neill, the great old Robert O'Neill, um, and Dylan Hales, who made an appearance as well. After Rampage, they all did a distraction choice Patreon podcast that went for 3 whole hours, and it was the most cathartic, hilarious, wonderful podcast to listen to after CM Punk's debut in AEW. It was amazing. I laughed my ass off. I teared up a little bit, and it made me realize, yeah, life outside of WWE, that's a pretty cool place. It's a pretty cool place. So I thank them very much for that, as well as the next night for the SummerSlam post show on Fightful's YouTube with Jeremy and with Alex Pulowski, another really awesome, amazing, amazing person, a sour graps man. And last night I wasn't home when NXT Takeover started, but I got home about a little over halfway into the show, and I had some food. I was like, you know what? Let me throw in NXT. Let me see what's going on. So I put that on. It was all right. I got to like the end of the third to last match, and then saw Cole and O'Reilly, and then saw Joe and Cross. Congratulations to Mojo. Really happy. Um, and I saw the post show for that, which I didn't think I was gonna watch, just because I wasn't gonna watch NXT in the first place. But I was like, oh, Jeremy and Denise Salcedo, lovely Denise Salcedo, is they're doing the post show. I'm like, all right, I'll check that out. And I had seen the Fightful Gaming on Twitch live show for both SummerSlam and for NXT Takeover as well. Rob Wilkins, great guy, and Maggie was in there. I love Maggie. Jessie was in there. She's a wonderful. Gisberto from Fightful as well. Wonderful guy, really great. And so I go to the post show for Takeover, and then John Alba makes a little appearance. John Rossap makes a little appearance. It was so funny. It was great, and I'm like, the state of my wrestling fandom is that going forward, I'm just basically going to become a casual WWE viewer, looking at some stuff that's going on, but I am into AEW right now. If you're not into AEW and you're into WWE, that's cool. That's cool. I am not going to come at you and call you a bunch of names. If you like NXT, great. If you like Raw and SmackDown, great. After 9 years, I have to say, it's not for me anymore. What can you say? I'm sorry, but I have, and I was talking to Josh Robinson from over on Love Wrestling. I have stuck with the let it play out stuff of WWE's for too long. I can't do it anymore. So I am, sticking my flag into the AEW train on, right on top of that mountain. And I'm riding the AEW train right now. And I will look at, things that WWE does. But those recordings are canceled on my Sling TV. So I'm not paying attention to that anymore. And again, like I said, if you like it, cool. I'm not a fan of the vision going forward with that company, but if it's something that you like, cool. That's for you. Not gonna knock you. I'm just gonna say I apologize for the people who are not fans that probably are quite vitriolic about it at the moment, myself included, who might make it seem like you're wrong for doing what you're doing. And it's hard. I was talking to Joe about this, Joe Holbert. It's a little hard to balance not shitting on the product to people who love the product and shitting on it because you don't agree with that vision. So just keep that in mind. If you're a fan of what's going on in WWE, if you don't mind the changes, if you don't mind what Nick Khan's interview said, if you don't mind the cuts, there are people who do mind. I am one of them. And I'm going to try my best to make sure that I don't, in my power, ever make somebody think that I think that when they're covering or when they're watching anything of WWE's, that it's the wrong thing to do. Because if you like it, cool. It's there for you. I am certainly not going to be the type of guy to go, oh, I hope WWE fails. No. WWE in business means wrestlers getting paid, making money on television. That's good for people. So I'm not going to be the one that says, oh, I want WWE to fail. No, I don't want that. I do want AEW to soar to heights that it's already never seen before. And it seems like that's what we're getting right now. CM Punk is there. It's so weird to even say that still. CM Punk is in AEW. Daniel Bryan probably going to be in AEW soon. Malachi Black, AEW. Thank God Miro's in AEW because holy hell, he's been killing it. He has been killing it. And more maybe. Maybe Bray Wyatt. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so I just wanted to make this because I just needed to speak my mind on all of this in a way that was more constructive for myself because I do throwback show and I love throwback. Um, but I just wouldn't be able to talk like this for practically an hour, I think, at this point. And I needed to bring my big money talks back because I needed to talk about this. Now, I don't know. There are certain things that I'm thinking about. I'm The call that I'm waiting for could be a new job. which is a daytime job. I have a nighttime job, which is why I wouldn't have been able to cover Monday Night Raw. Um, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know, uh, you know, many things at the moment, but I kind of have the podcasting bug still. I'm feeling, I'm feeling like I want to do this again and talk about AEW. Um, but I don't know yet. I don't know what my schedule is like at the moment. I don't know when would be a good time to do this. I feel like maybe I want to pursue the podcasting more. Um, but like, hey, I mean, if another website comes to me and is like, hey, you want to cover something, maybe I would do it, like I did for Cage Side Seats. I don't know. But right now, I'm feeling like, I want a podcast. Maybe I'll look and see if there's somebody that I want to podcast with. But I don't know what time it would be. I did this on a Monday. Usually I did these on Thursdays. I don't know what day it's going to be, but I'll figure all that stuff out. You can follow me as I figure it out at Big Money Drew on Twitter. The best and worst place to be. Really, Twitter is the greatest place to be, and it's the worst place to be, like, at the same time. Um, at Big Money Drew on Twitter. That's really the only place that I'm active in the social media world. And thank you for watching this. Give me a like, subscribe, because I will be, I'm going to start doing some more. I'm trying to think of maybe, do I want to keep it on YouTube? Do I want to move to Twitch? Twitch is something that's kind of piquing my interest right now. But I don't know yet. So I'm going to think about it. I'm going to see, how things go for this week, next week, and go from there. So thank you for watching. And until next time, bye for now.